And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Q&A. I'm Clay, joined by the ever gracious E-Train. Welcome. Been a pretty day around here. Good start to the week. I hope all of y'all have enjoyed the same.
Oh shit! Sorry, hang on. There we go.
E-Train is having
I
a
thought
little bit of technical issues.
my volume was off on my iPad. It was not. I apologize.
No
Because I
problem.
gotta
E-Train
watch
is,
the rumbles and the X's.
yeah. I was going to say E-Train is doing her normal monitoring. We broadcast simultaneously on 3 different platforms: YouTube, X, and Rumble. The questions, the comments only feed here to we use StreamYard for the streaming medium, and questions from YouTube feed into StreamYard. So Ellen monitors the other 2 channels and will relay any questions or comments, whatever y'all may have.
It used to not be that way, but StreamYard decided it didn't want to play nice with X anymore.
Was it StreamYard or did X change the coding?
No, it was StreamYard.
StreamYard did? Well,
Mm-hmm.
Did not know that. I was thinking it was something X had done that was different.
No, it's StreamYard.
Okay. Well, I might, with as much as I subsidize StreamYard, I might
True.
write them a friendly little comment.
Yeah.
But it's good to see everyone. We're glad to be with you. A long but beautiful day.
Mm-hmm. It's been a Monday in my world. It's just been like a weird day for me. Just like it feels like a Monday.
How weird.
Well, not this is unusual. Just can't get my shit together. Not that that's different from any other day that ends in Y, but anyway.
Yeah, Ellen released the great news Saturday that she is getting a goat.
I am.
Then she found out she wasn't getting a goat.
And then I found out I was still getting the goat. But I can't get a picture of the goat right now because her name is Calliope. Because the guy who has her now, she's a baby, but his dad went into the hospital on Saturday night, so she's unavailable for pictures at this point, or he is to take them, whichever. Anywho, I apologize. I want to show y'all Calliope, but can't.
Yeah, apparently his youngest daughter got a hold of his phone
Mm-hmm.
and, and sent a text. You can't have the goat.
I was like, that's not very nice. And I thought it was the guy that I was, and he was like, no, my daughter got a hold of the phone. I'm sorry.
She does not want to let go of the baby goat.
No, she doesn't have to pay for the 7 goats they have. So he is all about giving me the baby goat.
That is just kind of cute.
It is.
Kind of sweet.
It is.
So what are your plans? Are you going to establish a goat kingdom? Or are you going to get a male goat, breed them, or?
I don't know that I'm into breeding goats. No. Mm-mm.
You're not going to raise them, milk them?
Well, I have a female. I can milk her, right?
Well, they have to kind of get pregnant first, I think.
Ah, shit. Forgot about that part.
Hmm.
Well, that puts a hitch in my giddy up. Okay.
Yeah.
I got to rethink this plan. But I'm going to get some chickens too. I know. I'm just kind of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of girl. Like, a goat was offered. I was like, yes, I want the goat. Why wouldn't I want a goat? Yeah.
I actually have been doing a little pre-work for you.
Of course you do.
Found a little basic design on a small chicken coop.
Cute.
That might work for you.
Good.
good for 4, 5, 6 chickens. I don't
Okay.
know how many you want, but I figured that would be a good starting point for you.
Yeah.
So
And now
good
we're able
looking.
to buy chickens, so I'm pretty happy about that. But I want
Um,
egg chickens,
yeah, you need to
not meat
figure out
chickens.
what kind of egg chickens you want.
Well, the person that I found who sells the chickens doesn't necessarily speak English, so I'm gonna have to have a translator.
Well, I've been looking. I can maybe give you some suggestions. A little bit of
Excellent.
differences between them.
Mel,
Hello, Melissa. How are you doing?
hi. We're talking about goats and chickens.
You have any
Sorry.
expertise in goats and chickens? Or you focus mostly on pugs? For those of you that don't know, Melissa has a site, Love Pug Circus,
Hmm.
and an Instagram. So if you have any interest in pugs or you just want to see some happy stuff, two good choices to check out.
Hmm. In case you missed it, Melissa, sorry, my dogs are scratched at the door, or one of them is the white one, Toulouse. Um, in case you missed it, I don't have a picture of Calliope. Her dad's dad is in the hospital, so he's a little busy. But I
Yeah,
will I
she.
will have a picture as soon as one is provided to me.
Now, how old is Calliope? How long before she's? They wean them at 6 weeks.
She's still being bottle fed.
Yeah, but will she? Is it 6 weeks when they are considered weaned?
I don't know about goats.
E-Train, you might want to start studying up a little bit about goats.
I will do a crash course, a really like intense crash course.
That's just funny. Still can't believe you're getting a goat, but it
Why?
is kind
I
of
gotta
cute.
start somewhere. And she's so cute though. I mean, like she put little paws on me. She was just like, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh." So I had to pick her up and love on her, and she licked me and put her little head on my shoulder, and she's a cute goat, sweet goat.
That's funny.
She chose
That's
me. Let's
funny.
put it that way.
Check in with Valhalla Awaits. What is Valhalla Awaits?
She sent me a link for that, and I'm going to as soon as I get a chance. Right now, I am. Can I say that I'm moving?
Yeah. Whatever
Okay.
you.
So I'm moving, so I'm trying to pack things up, and I have to pack them up not only where I am, but also in Carolina Beach. Figure out how to get everything done. But yeah,
The
so I got a lot going on.
the YouTube goat guy. Okay, because I just searched Valhalla Awaits, and it is a 24 Viking era movie, adventure game, and metal band. So take your
Mhm.
pick.
Now I have the link for it. She sent it to me, so I can
Okay.
do all the things.
Well, send it to me. I'd be interested to see what all the guy says.
Okay,
Uh,
we'll do.
we, we need to have another pet night so you can introduce Calliope,
Mm-hmm.
Calliope, Calliope.
Calliope,
Okay.
because she's like calico.
How does that name have anything to do with calico?
I don't know. It just sounded good, kind of like Tallulah.
Yeah, I will give Ellen credit. She comes up with some unusual names, and they end up just kind of fitting. Tallulah is a little Tallulah.
Hmm.
Now, did you come up with Chunk or did I? I think I first called him a Chunk.
Yeah, and then we decided to keep it because that
Yeah,
wasn't
it
supposed to
just
be his
stuck.
name. We were going to sell him, and he ended up being the one that we kept. But we'd been calling him Chonk, so and we couldn't like stop calling him Chonk because he's a
It
chonk.
just fits. Yeah,
Hmm.
it just fits. His attitude, his personality.
Hmm.
He's big for a Morkie, and it just
He's
it just
huge.
fits.
Yeah.
He's connected with all the law tubers. Okay, cool. Um, and for those of you that don't know, it's kind of how we got our start or a big boost anyway. and how many of you found your way to our channel.
Mhm.
So we, remain indebted to Rob and Ian. So tonight is Tuesday Q&A. This is really
Please
kind
bring
of
your questions.
your night to throw out, questions, comments. It's really an open forum. Was kind of initially put together for you, for your time. Talk about whatever you want to talk about, current things in the news or the economy or the markets, or hairstyling, hair coloring.
Whatever. Yeah. Clay and I have an interesting myriad of backgrounds. He has got medical finance, bouncing for celebrities. What else have you done? Oh, growing roses. Help me out.
Yeah, that's a good start. We'll just go with that.
Okay. And I have got marketing, um, veterinary, ER tech, hairstylist, um, just a lot of, we both have a lot of just broad spectrum experience in many, many things. Yes,
Yeah,
we cover it all here.
And we're a fair complement. So, decent range of information. And we find most anything interesting.
Yeah.
So, do have a couple things that I wanted to throw out that I thought were modestly interesting. Obviously, it has to do with, either the government or the economy or the markets. This particular one is kind of the government, which will end up impacting the economy, which will end up impacting the markets. Already is in a lot of ways. I don't know how many of you track, but the 10-year today hit about 4.8, which is kind of a significant symbolic level. It's about 120 basis points, 1.25% interest, 1.25% higher interest than in September when the Fed cut the rate. So that's interesting. The Fed's trying to lower the rates and the market is taking the interest rates higher. Well, why? There are some signs that inflation is starting to make a comeback in some regards. We got the producer price index today. It came in at about 3.3% annualized. Remember, the Fed's
price index.
Pardon?
What is the producer price index?
That is the cost of raw materials that producers buy. So if their raw material cost is increasing, they generally will end up passing it along to consumers.
What is a producer?
Define. Manufacturer of goods.
Okay. So does that include like a manufacturer of 2x4s?
Like, yeah, lumber, chemicals, steel, metals, clothing, automobiles, construction, housing, anything that is produced by somebody, any good that is produced. Mm-hmm. The prices they pay for inputs, both labor and raw materials. So when that's usually it's highly correlated with the CPI, the General Inflation Index. It increases in PPI usually find their way into the CPI.
Okay.
Now, this is the latest statement from the Treasury Department. It's summary of receipts and outlays. Comes out every month. This is for the month of December. And you probably can't, some of y'all, I know some of y'all read on the follow the channel on the phone, so it's hard to see the numbers. Don't know if that helps any.
Helps me.
But you've got, several categories of income. You've got individual income taxes, corporate income taxes, which are the bulk of receipts. Then you've got Social Security and unemployment insurance and other retirement income. So I have not included the Social Security income because it's turned right around and paid out.
And this is in what of dollars? Like
millions of dollars.
Okay, so 211,600.
It becomes 211 billion.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, the way to do that is just take off this side, and if you had 691, that'd be $691 million.
Okay.
So you add 3 digits to it; those are billions.
Okay.
The green ones are the income that I included. So income taxes, both corporate, personal, estate taxes, and tariffs, custom duties, along with miscellaneous receipts. I don't know. I screwed that one up. That should be in green, not red. I don't know why that got changed. And then below it are the expenses. And the one that I was interested in was interest on treasury debt, just for the month of December.
It's the highest one.
That came in at just under $140 billion for the month. Okay. Whoops.
Yep.
So net, you have $317 billion in revenue. You have $140 billion in expense. In other words, 44% of all income, of all taxes paid, excluding Social Security, goes to interest. 44%. Now, comparing the interest expense to the money spent on defense, Department of Defense military programs, this line, $78 million. So the amount we spend on interest is 177% of everything we spend on defense. It's 140% of everything we spend on health and human services. It's 1,150% of everything we spend on Homeland Security. And it's 2,200% of everything we spend on housing and urban development. Well, sorry.
That's kind of disgusting to me.
And the beautiful thing is, it's only going to get worse this next year. It's locked in. Remember, we talked a little bit Saturday of how we are going to borrow. Well, let me say this. At this current rate of interest, this is about a $3 trillion a year deficit. So next year, I was estimating the deficit to be at $2 trillion.
This year or 2026?
2025.
Okay.
Which I'm probably low on that. So $2 trillion in new debt. Plus, the current administration has delayed refunding longer duration securities. It's been funding everything on the short end, which kind of skews the Treasury accounts. So one of the first jobs of the new administration will be refinancing some of this debt in longer term. And that amount to be refinanced this year is about $10 trillion. So we literally in 2025 will be refinancing or borrowing $12 to $13 trillion in debt. Normally this is around $4 trillion.
You know what's funny to me? And I probably said this before, but we're in this country is in so much debt, and yet we put so much emphasis on your credit score.
Yeah.
Whether or not you can borrow money.
The credit score for the government would be extremely low.
Yes.
Yeah, they pay on time, but their debt to income ratio is really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Now, government obviously can print money, and that's where you get inflation from, which, as I've explained before, inflation is really kind of a hidden tax.
Yeah.
So it allows the government to spend at money's current value, even though they're printing more. And then once that money enters the economy, the money supply has grown. There's more dollars chasing fewer goods. Inflation starts hitting. So inflation comes after government spends the money. So the government actually is able to, if you think about it this way, government is actually able to take value from you through inflation. They can buy goods and services at the current price, but by the time that money hits and gets in circulation, then the price goes up. You have to pay a higher price. Melissa, credit scores can suck it. That is a very common attitude. And the whole system to me is screwed. The way they, calculate and handle credit scores. I'll give you an example that's always kind of bothered me. You could never borrow a dime and pay cash for everything. Everything's paid up. You owe nothing. You manage your finances immaculately, but you've never borrowed anything. Your credit score is going to be 0. And you'll have a extremely hard time getting a loan if you decide you want a mortgage.
Yeah.
That's just a screwed up system.
Even if you're making tons of money, it does not matter.
Yeah. And the basis they use to score you, I mean, there are some estimates out there. Some people have kind of been able to replicate and estimate, what goes into the score. But they've never clearly told us how we're being evaluated. What the different components and measures and impact are. For something that so greatly determines your financial flexibility, I think that's just wrong.
It is, especially like when I met you, my credit score is crap, mainly because I didn't have any credit cards and hadn't for a long time.
Yeah.
And Clay was like, get a credit card. I was like, I don't want a credit card. He's like, you have to get a credit card. Why? Well, because that's going to improve your credit score. Huh? Can you explain all that?
You have to have a track record with credit. And so you get a card, $1,000, $2,000 credit limit, whatever it's issued at for, somebody starting out. You put $25 on it. You pay it off the next month. Boom. You now have a credit history. And you now have a credit score. So, in a way, it's kind of stupid, but a way to build your credit score, because one of the important ratios that they use is how much do you have borrowed to the total amount you can borrow on a credit card. So if you get one credit card for $1,000 and you have $25 on it, that's your score. But if you get another credit card, put $25 on it, pay it off, and you're still maintaining the $100 balance on the other credit card, well, now you've got $100 out of $2,000 available credit, and that improves your score.
Which makes no sense.
The more credit cards you get.
Yeah, go ahead.
The more credit cards you get, if you don't run balances up on them, the more it improves your score.
Because all my credit cards are paid off because we, got the credit cards, did the things, ran out the balance, ran out credit, paid it down. I'm good. But now they're like, now you need more, or Credit Karma says you need another credit card to improve your score. I'm like, why? I have more credit cards. I have like 4, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't use them. I use them and then pay it off at the end of the month, but it's like, why do I need more credit cards?
Yeah, Ellen has moved into a good range. but her score is still not perfect, even though she doesn't have balances on her credit cards, because other parts of the calculation are like, how long have you had the credit? So even though she's managed it well, paid everything off, et cetera, that's still not good enough. It's like Melissa said, they just want us all in debt.
They do.
And, think about it. Inflation encourages you to spend more instead of saving more. Because, if you're like in a savings account now, they pay 1/4%, 0.5%. Well, inflation is 3, 4, 5% a year. So if you're only earning 0.5%, your money purchases less every year. You can buy fewer and fewer goods with it over time. That's not a good incentive for people to save. So it's kind of like, is it a feature or is it a bug when the government does things that it knows will ultimately create inflation, like borrowing high amounts of money itself?
Or printing tons of
having
money.
to print money to pay the debt. So, government borrowing is ultimately inflationary. If inflation is in the system, it is always, always, always a monetary event.
Well, it's like I want for credit scores, and I assume, I mean, it's not run by government, but it's got to be sort of influenced by government, just because of the financial situation we're all in, and the inflation and all this. It's like with your credit, we want you to be able to borrow way more than you'll ever need.
Yeah. Or that would really.
But I was going to say before, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was going to say before is that it can hurt you to have more availability to borrow than your income if you want to make a major purchase, like a house. Correct? It used to be where, okay, you have the ability, because of your credit cards or whatever, to spend this much money and get in this much debt, and that can hurt you because of your open credit. Correct? No?
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying?
I don't think that's still the issue. I don't think that's as much of a problem anymore. It depends on how much credit you have already borrowed.
Okay.
Like if you get a mortgage, they take your monthly income and you can have 26% for the mortgage payment. And you can have, I think it's 34% for the mortgage payment plus minimum credit card payments.
Payments or the availability?
Payments.
Okay.
So, and the minimum payments. So if you exceed either one of those, it's going to make it harder for you to get approved for a mortgage.
Right.
So if you have balance, a lot of, carry regular balances on your credit card, then that's going to ultimately, and you're making minimum payments, that also will hurt your credit score. Even if you make those payments on time, just the fact that you're making minimum payments will lower your credit score over time.
It's so screwy, in my opinion.
It's just a weird system. They want exactly what they want. And, they're charging you right now. I've seen interest rates at 29.9%. They're charging you 30% interest a year, which for $1,000, that's $300 just in interest a year. So if you're making the minimum payment of $30 a month, it's going to take you 20 or 30 years to pay that off. It's stupid. Extremely expensive. Now, the new administration coming in has argued that this is wrong and banks shouldn't be allowed to charge such, you know, confiscatory rates.
Yeah.
That's kind of appealing, but what it's also going to do, it'll probably make credit a little less available for those people on the borderline. If you've got a really good credit score, probably won't impact the availability of credit. But if you're struggling or just trying to get your first card, it'll probably make that tougher. Melissa, the less money you have, the more expensive everything else is. That is, Snopes rated that as true.
Moffat rates that as true. It is. It's like
Moffat rates that as true.
if you have $5 in your checking account and you want to get it out of the ATM, you can't. I'm sorry. But if you have money, we will loan you more money than you ever would need. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
It's weird. You can be an 18-year-old kid and you've got a great idea for a business. Your name's Steve Jobs, and you've got an idea for a computer that's going to revolutionize the way the world lives and breathes and does business. You couldn't get a $10,000 loan to start up. Mm-mm. But you can get a $100,000 loan to go major in some degree you'll never get a job with.
Sorry, I gotta move this. I'm sorry.
Let me kill your mic while you do that, because that's just really loud. When you do that kind of stuff, just, if you will, please, kill that mic. Are we done?
I'm done. Be sweet.
Okay. I'm being sweet, but it was really loud. Goober.
Sorry. I don't have my thing. I don't know where it went. My cover.
It's all right. Just kill your mic. And yes, things are more expensive the less money you have. It's one of those contradictions in life that just holds true. Because the banks see that kind of lending and financing as riskier. Mm-hmm. And the problem is most people who have, money and use credit cards, they pay the balance off at the end of the month. So there's no interest. So banks, don't make as much off that. Now, banks are still making money because every time you use a credit card, 3.5% of whatever you charge goes to the bank. Kind of hurts retailers. You'll notice that some retailers and restaurants, they will tack on 3.5% if you use a credit card because that's what they get charged. Or maybe they'll give you, maybe they do it as a reduction for cash. So either way, it's just kind of a screwy system. And there are changes coming to it. I don't know what they're going to be exactly. I don't know how it'll all fall out, but this is going to be one of the most interesting years ahead that we've ever had in terms of policy and directional changes, or at least efforts to try to change it. I don't know how much they can get through. I don't know if many of y'all were listening to the proposed defense secretary.
I did.
Secretary of Defense, but he said something terribly interesting. He said, we went through World War II and won it with 7 4-star generals. Today, we have 44 4-star generals and struggle to win, struggle to maintain a fight, whatever. Going to be real interesting to go into the Pentagon and start laying off people by the many. That's the whole thing about DOGE, Department of Government Expense. Elon and Vivek have said that they can cut expenses by $2 trillion out of a $6 trillion federal budget. That's 1/3 of the federal budget. There's some big changes coming. Don't know exactly how all that's going to sort out. Trump's also talked about not taxing Social Security, not taxing tips, cutting income taxes, cutting corporate taxes. People talk about the tariffs are inflationary. His first term, they really weren't that inflationary, and we could go into more detail about that. But let's take as a given an average that tariffs can be inflationary. Well,
Martha,
corporate.
I'll be right back. Hang on.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Corporate income taxes are deflationary because taxes to a corporation are an expense, just like labor and rent and anything else. And so if their expenses are lowered, corporations have in the past, in 2017, they either increased pay to their employees, they engaged in more research, they cut their prices. There's several different ways they can do it, but ultimately it ends up being a little deflationary. So, how all this is going to shake out, what's the timing of the different events? No idea. No idea. Too many variables right now. So it's just going to be a fascinating year to sit and watch some of these things transpire and see what the impacts are, both short term and then long term. Will we be better off if the government is able to eliminate $2 trillion in waste and cut taxes, both personal and corporate? I'd like to try it, see how it works out. I think it would be a pretty good thing overall. There'd be, there'll be some initial chaos, be a lot of adjustments for individuals and businesses. But ultimately, I think it would, long term, I think it would be, a very strong plus for the economy as a whole. So a lot of potential changes. Now, will the new administration be able to work with Congress? Has a slim majority in the House, slim majority in the Senate. If they get just a few defections from the Republican Party and none from the Democrats, they may not be able to get much through. So there are some Democrats that look like increasingly they're more willing to work with, the administration on some major issues. Don't know. A lot of negotiating going on in the background. And there's a lot of resistance to the efforts to cut DC's power and budget. A lot of people have a lot of hands in that. We have managed to build up a very complex, a very opaque economic system, medical system, budgetary process. Who was it? The General Accounting Office tried to identify all of the federal agencies and departments, and they had to give up. They couldn't track them all. They couldn't identify them all. Some of them were buried so deep. How do you know government's gotten too big? Well, when you've got 44% of all your income going just toward interest, that may be a sign. Also on the deficit, saw this. It rose in December and is now 40% higher than it was a year ago. The deficit for the month. First quarter of 2025, the fiscal year, which starts in October for the federal government, produced a deficit of $710 billion. That's a 40% increase year over year. And that's where I got the $3 trillion annual deficit. Remember, I was saying I was estimating 2 a few months ago and have been using that since. Well, it looks like I already am short. Right now, we're on track for 3 trillion, and that's probably low. And this is already cooked in. There's just not a whole lot that the administration is going to be able to change quick enough to really impact that. So it's very possible we have a deficit of $40 trillion by the end of the year. At some point, we reach a breaking point, and that's going to be ugly. I also thought we would update everybody on the fires. That's, it's still a big issue. There's been some news. We, talked about it a little bit Saturday night. I looked up some of the main statistics, and the Palisades fire continues pretty much unabated. It's only 17% contained as of this evening. It's involving almost 24,000 acres. The Eaton fire has a little bit better containment at 35%. 14,000 acres. Both fires begin on 1/17, which to me is interesting. Doesn't prove anything, but it's a hell of a coincidence. And then you have a couple of the other fires that looks like they may be getting those under control, some of the smaller fires. So we can hope there is some progress being made. Melissa, what's the Santa Ana winds like currently? Are they still blowing as hard, or have they calmed down a little bit? I meant to look that up and forgot. Also in the, interesting category is, Santa Monica alone has made over 50 arrests. None of them so far are from Santa Monica. So people are coming into the area looking to commit crimes. These people have been charged with burglary, possession of a firearm, curfew violation. And it's just sad. What do you do with these people? What should we do with these people? It's just contemptible. Also, and this may be on a level worse or more evil, people are being arrested having dressed up as firemen or police officers or health officials. Going to a house, trying to get people to evacuate, then send in a team to rob the house or check and see if anybody is at home, then, plunder the house. It is sad that we have, society has devolved to this kind of state to where this is so common. Melissa, another arsonist started a fire about a mile from here yesterday morning. Thankfully, there were no winds and they got it out quickly. It only took out a tree and a car. I've seen literally 4 or 5 videos just today of people being caught trying to start fires. One of them was from yesterday. What gets into people? Why would you even try to do that? I don't get it. Are they just that evil? Are they just looking for amusement? Are they insane? I don't know. But like I said Saturday, there's a lot of attention goes to the celebrities that have lost their house, and I know for many of them it's very tragic. I showed you the picture of Robert Redford's Oscar in the ashes, melted, and that was kind of poignant. But Robert Redford, he'll be okay. He's got money. He's probably got other houses, though I don't know exactly, but he'll be okay. There's the pain of losing some of the mementos and all, and I feel for him. I hate that it happened, but I'm not terribly worried about Robert Redford and the movie stars. I'm worried more about the people who, the poor, the middle class who lose everything and don't have the means to rebuild, like like we've seen in Western Carolina and Eastern Tennessee. Told somebody today, half kiddingly, that the people in Western Carolina don't know anything about the fires in LA because they don't have TVs or internet in their tents. It's 18 degrees at night up in those hills. 18 degrees, and they're in a canvas tent. A week ago, 10 days ago, the FEMA vouchers for those able to stay in a hotel ran out. And so they got kicked out of the hotel. Well, last day or two, FEMA has started reissuing or extending those vouchers to the end of January. But what the hell, people? I just don't understand. Melissa, that's a very good question. I think you're referring to why would people be doing this? Are they insane? Are they looking for amusement? Are they just evil and want to try to increase other people's pain? I don't know. I saw one family today who's lost 4 houses. Damn. 17 people are homeless because they all lived near one another. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at your comment. I just looked up and noticed E-Train was taking a relatively modest bite out of something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, my timing was bad. I did not mean to laugh. I just saw that and it just came out. Yeah, the fact that 17 people are homeless because they all live near one another, lost their houses, lost everything, have no idea how they're going to replace it. We can do better, as a society. We just, the government can do better in terms of providing some emergency aid. I mean, if government can't do that function, can't provide that function, then what really use or need do we have for government? City, state, federal. Government's opportunity to shine, its reason for existence, my opinion, is, to defend the country and to, maintain an orderly and just society. Well, when society is breaking down, when there is a huge crisis that threatens life, liberty, that's the time for government to do its thing. And it has just absolutely and completely failed. May even be negligent in terms of contributing to the conditions that led to some of this. So it is just a clown show. Now, a little bit of good news. I saw today this bus, a 77 VW camper, kind of a classic 70s, love bug, surfer mobile, survived the fire. The young lady pictured is named Megan Weintraub, and she bought it a couple months ago from a guy that purchased it back in the 80s. actually lived in it while he was going to college. And he had it all these years. Well, he works with her and she runs a surf design business and she really wanted it. So he sold it to her. And as you can tell, it's it's in good shape. Really good shape. Been, very well maintained. But she had to flee because of the fire. So she left with her dog. Her dog's name is Bodie. Can anybody tell me where that came from?
Yes. That would be Keanu Reeves in Point Break, or what's it called?
Now, Reeves was not Bodie.
No, it was Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
In Point Break. A great movie if you haven't seen it, but a great movie. So she's a true surfer chick. But she and Bodie had to flee the fires, and she took her primary car. Well, a neighbor sent her a photograph yesterday of the VW. All the area houses, everything around it had burned, been torched, was scorched, but the bus was untouched, was unscathed. So that is kind of making the rounds in some of the news cycles out there in LA. She hasn't been able to return to the area yet because it's still sealed off, but one of the neighbors who's there sent her a picture, and the bug is okay. But I thought that was just kind of cool. Thought that might give everybody a little smile. On other news, I received this article today from one of the viewers, or yesterday. And the article was Texas court rules against American Airlines in ESG 401 plan case. Let me ask before I get into this. Anybody have any questions or comments about the fire? Anybody seen anything good, bad, or indifferent? These are the people who make up our amazing, eclectic city. Certainly some of the more interesting parts of it. It is a culturally rich city in a lot of ways. And that is truly part of the joy of living in the area. It's a beautiful state. Absolutely beautiful state. One of the most beautiful. Now I'm kind of partial to Montana. Not going to lie. Not that I want to live in Montana. I just don't think I could do 8 months of winter. California, particularly California, is almost seasonless. It's just so even throughout the year. Very little change of seasons, but it's beautiful. And I've traveled out there dozens and dozens of times to LA and the Bay Area both. Just was a fascinating place to visit, and it personally breaks my heart to see the kind of damage that it's undergoing now, and that San Francisco has incurred. The people deserve better, and I hope they get it soon. But anybody have any other comments or anything on the fires? Please throw them in, or if you've got something happy to share, please do that as well. Now, ESG, this is kind of an interesting topic, particularly in investment circles, because for years, 17, 18, 19, ESG was an investing rage. And ESG, for those who may not be familiar with that term, ESG, environmental, social, and governance. These are kind of non-economic factors which have been developed to evaluate corporate performance. There are actually scores. Companies actually have ESG scores given them by different evaluators to see how well they are performing on these metrics. Environmental, what is the size of their carbon footprint? Social, what is their efforts toward diversity, equity, and inclusion? How are they contributing to their community type valuation? G stands for government. So how diverse is their board? What kind of policies, do they enact in order to promote DEI and other things like that? So there are literally organizations that give scores to corporations on ESG. Well, starting in about 21, 22, when COVID hit and the markets, started tumbling, investors started caring less about the non-economic matters and caring more about the economic matters, what actually impacts cash flow. So that was kind of the peak of the ESG. Now, over the past 5 years, ESG has been slowly or not so slowly dying. I tried to find an exact number, couldn't. I was using AI or whatever, and what I got basically were estimates between 50 and 70 ESG investment funds have shut down over the past 2-3 years. There are funds that would specialize in ESG investing, or funds that would emphasize ESG investing. And out of those, about 50 to 70 have shut down. Investors have withdrawn their money and didn't have enough to operate. In one quarter of 23 alone, the third quarter of 23 alone, there were 28 closures, 28 funds shut down in that one quarter alone. And they basically were killed off by underperformance and changing, I'll call it, political realities. There was a lot of criticism that started emanating for those prioritizing social metrics over financial returns. And that's really what this case was. A suit was filed against American Airlines because American Airlines took some of its retirement funds and dedicated it to ESG investing. And the investors filed suit, saying that was a non-financial metric. Well, of course, it took a year or two, but the courts agreed and said that, the fiduciary responsibility that corporations take on when they establish and run retirement plans obligates them to act in the best interest, the best economic and financial interest of their employees in terms of how they allocate and invest the funds. So using non-economic, non-financial criteria violates that trust. And so the court ruled against American Airlines. This is not the first case like this. It won't be the last. Actually, one of the largest investment firms, BlackRock, pushed DEI and ESG investing. It would buy shares in corporations. It buys them through its mutual funds. And the mutual funds technically are to represent the mutual fund investors, the actual quote unquote shareholders. But they really didn't. And they would just vote the way or use the votes the way they wanted to achieve their political ideology. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, was really strongly behind this ESG and DEI movement. So BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, they had a lot of influence. They could control a lot of the boards. And so a lot of companies started enacting these kind of policies. Well, the results didn't end up being so hot. particularly in some firms that were more technical. But the courts ruled that this was not a suitable criteria and that the companies who did so were liable. There are also lawsuits. There hasn't been any, they haven't gone to trial yet, but there are lawsuits in place against BlackRock for this very same thing, forcing companies to engage in this kind of behavior. The companies should have resisted, but, and that's what this court's saying, basically that the company is also liable. I think it's highly probable that BlackRock also will be liable because it didn't represent the best interest of its shareholders. It didn't let the shareholders vote. Now, both BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street have changed their policies. They now pass these proxy votes on to their shareholders. So a lot of change in this area. But ESG as a corporate policy is dying and is on the way out. It's even being pressured in academia. The new administration promises to only increase that pressure. So again, big changes. I should have had this tagged under the fire, but I just saw this yesterday. The state of Texas, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has announced that he has directed the state agencies, including the Emergency Management and the Forest Service, to send any available resources, firefighters, equipment, any other emergency personnel and supplies to Southern California to try to assist in the controlling the fires. I also saw where California is importing some Mexican firefighters. Canada has been sending some planes that, what do they call them? The only term I can think of is Super Soaker, which is not the proper name, but the planes literally have the ability to fly over Santa Monica Bay and scoop up water as they are flying, and then they can take it and dump it on the fires. There were two of them. One of the planes was taken out because it hit a drone. Now, why is anybody flying a drone in the area of the fires with planes flying around, trying to put them out? The funny thing is, or the weird thing to me, is that the FBI has announced an investigation into trying to find out who operates the drone. Well, I'm sorry, but that drone transmits a signal to a specific receiver that's licensed. They could find the owner in an hour. It doesn't really need a full FBI investigation. They just need to go arrest the dude or person. So anyway, but, states are starting to get involved and send additional resources. Some of the cities in Texas are even sending resources. So hopefully, a lot of the states in the area will start sending men and machine, and they can get this thing under control, get it put back. Melissa, how many pugs do they feed snacks to? I don't know, but that ought to be at the top of their list. That Super Soaker has now been restored. Didn't know that. So thank you. I did see where Canada is sending an extra 4. I don't know why Canada has them and California doesn't. It seemed like that would be a hell of a good investment for California, particularly as many forest fires as that city is plagued with. You have a forest fire starting, you get 2 or 3 of those in the air and dumping water on it within an hour, problem solved. But hopefully, some of that'll change. So we'll see. But I thought that was kind of a little bit more of good news. Other states are trying to look and see what they can do. Other resources are being added to the fight. So hopefully over the next few days, the next week, there'll be enough there to contain, control, and extinguish, put out the fires. And we can get the idiots to quit lighting the fires. I saw where, the state and the federal government, I forget which bureau it comes from, but is sending their expert fire team, the fire detection team, to try to identify where the fires started and see if they can find who started them. I saw one video. I decided not to use it because couldn't really prove anything, but the fire that started in Pacific Palisades was up on this hillside in this park. Started on the 7th. They know exactly when and where it started. And there were some hikers hiking the path. And they saw the fire starting, and then they saw these two boys running down, laughing, giggling, carrying on, whatever, that ran past them. The implication is that these kids possibly started the fire. I don't know. Don't have any proof. But that's the first place I would look. They know the location, so they can get people up there and see whether it was started with, a lightning strike or, a fuel, an accelerant. Oftentimes they can find identifying information to tie the arsonist to the actual act. So I'm all for that, whatever it takes. Let's try to nail some of these folks and send them away for a long, long time. This kind of stuff just is insane. I don't know why people are finding entertainment or joy or whatever out of it. But glad that Super Soaker has been restored. Melissa, I think I've seen lightning maybe 3 times in the 24 years I have lived in LA. Yeah, I have never seen lightning start a fire. I have seen a tree that was struck by lightning burn on the inside, but it didn't spread to anything else. Now, could there be conditions where it would easily spread? Sure. So, but there's and I might have used it Saturday night. I came across some government statistics that showed like 85% of all forest fires are started by individuals. Some of them on accident. Somebody tries to build a campfire, loses control, or an ember blows from the campfire and ignites. The Santa Ana wind, some of those were blowing at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. That'll carry an ember for a big heavy chunk of burning coal for blocks. So once that starts, you've got that kind of wind. The containment issue is massively more complex. But, when you have 2 fires on a clear day, and that was the thing, the day that started, watching the video, not a cloud in the sky, a beautiful day. People were out hiking in short sleeve shirts. So and 2 of them start on the same day in 2 different locations. That's just kind of weird. Anyway, we'll see what happens. A number of fires started in Griffin Park have been from cigarette butts. Bingo. People being at the best careless. I would think that particularly people in the area who smoked would be extremely aware of that risk. I've had some friends that smoke and they just don't fling their butts out anymore. Fling them out of the car or just, fling them on the side where people have pine straw or, some mulch, whatever. They'll sit there and grind them out, step them out, make sure they're gone, put them in a, ashtray, whatever. I guess I expect better of people. I just didn't think people were that careless just to flick a lit butt into, dry wiregrass. I don't know. And it was very windy. Yes, you could tell that from that video of where it started. You could see the flames whipping and spreading relatively rapidly. The people started evacuating and said, it's gaining on us. So I'm like, yeah, I would be hauling my anatomy down that trail just as well. So, thoughts and prayers, to you, Melissa, and others out there in LA, the afflicted areas. I did see where the GoFundMe for your friend seemed like it was going well. I checked that before the show. I actually meant to have a link to throw it up and forgot about it. But I think it's raised $66,000. And I know a few people from the show did contribute. Ellen and I did, and so we hope all is good with your friend, and that they're able to get through this in relatively decent order. So we appreciate you forwarding that link as well. If you have not and you want to contribute, these people lost everything in the fire. So obviously there's, if you lose everything in your home, furniture, everything, there's a lot to replace. I don't know exactly what their goal is or what's needed, but there's a link on the broadcast site from Saturday's show. You can go take a look and see if you want to contribute. Melissa's known and loved these people for quite a long time. They're very good friends of hers. And so just a little thing we can do to try to help out people who are less fortunate right now. All right, anybody have any other questions, comments? Trying to see if E-Train is okay. Having a couple little issues there. So anybody have any questions, comments? This is your opportunity. Because that's really all I've got prepared for the night in terms of conversation season. Tuesdays are, school has started back. So chaos is returning to my life. And Tuesdays are kind of a long day. I've got a consulting project. I've got a student competition, a couple classes, research projects. So there's a fair amount going on Tuesdays. Melissa, she's got goat brain. I really think she might. She is terribly excited and happy about getting that goat and starting her little, livestock thing. I think it'll be a really good thing for her. So I'm kind of, happy for her, excited. There's a part of me going like, Ellen, a goat, really? But she loves animals, has always wanted to have a goat. And so this is kind of like her dream coming true. So she's going to have a little baby goat. So let's cheer her on in that endeavor. I'm sure we will be exposed to a fair number of pictures, request for input. She's going to start trying to figure out the design of the pen in the house, and so any design ideas, color, decorating ideas y'all may have, feel free to share them. I don't know about Chunk and Talou, what they're going to think about this new edition. They'll probably all end up being really good buds. But I just think that's funny. And it's going to be cute. It's going to be good. So anybody have any other information, ideas, input, questions, comments? If you've got something that you think of after the show, please just drop me an email, moffatonmoney@gmail.com, or DM me on Twitter, Moffat on Money, or on X, I should say, because I still call it Twitter. Always looking for ideas, suggestions, like the article I showed you tonight. We really do appreciate that. We're interested in what you're interested in. We're interested in what's going on with you. We're interested in what issues that you want to talk about or learn about. So, all right. I don't see any other questions so far. I don't really have anything else. So it is a little early for us, but Ellen is not feeling too good. So I'm going to call her and see if there's anything I can do. If you will, just say a little prayer for her. But I am going to probably end things a little bit early tonight. We do really appreciate you being with us. Sorry to cut the show a little short. But appreciate your patience and your understanding. We'll be back with you Saturday night. So tune in, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. Thank you all very much. Melissa, take care of yourself. Keep yourself safe out there, and keep us updated. If you need anything, let us know. We love you guys. We appreciate y'all. Hope y'all have a great rest of the evening and week ahead. Look forward to seeing you Saturday night. Thank you all very much. Our time is up. We thank you for yours. Good night.